So, sir, what will you do today?
Yeah, so let's start from where we were, right? So we are continuing our discussion on duality, right? Are there any questions or concerns regarding anything we have discussed regarding plane duality so far? Right, so we observed at the end of last lecture that the dual itself can be drawn in a planar fashion if you have a plane graph, and such an embedding of the dual is called a plane dual for that graph, right? So there is the abstract dual, but the abstract dual also happens to be planar, and you can get a drawing from the original drawing, so that will be the plane dual. Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you are simply saying G star, we mean the abstract dual, but when you are saying tilde, it means the planar embedding of the abstract dual.
Yeah, so um, yeah, so typically I will specify when I am referring to the plane dual. If I don't put a tilde, I will still make it clear that I'm referring to the plane dual in this case. Okay. So G star in general refers to the abstract dual.
Abstract dual, yeah.
Okay.
But giving tilde means it is a planar embedding.
Typically, if I put a tilde, I'm referring to a planar embedding of that underlying abstract graph.
Okay.
I also use tilde for the underlying simple graph. I realized that later. I think I used tilde, did I? Or did I use something else? I think I used the tilde for underlying simple graph at some point. Anyways, that's fine. The context should make it clear what we are referring to. So at the end of last lecture, I gave you a do-it-yourself exercise, which was to consider a disconnected plane graph and observe that the dual of the dual, where you first take the plane dual and then you take the abstract dual, is not isomorphic to the original graph G. Okay. So I hope you all tried that. And there is a reason why that happens. That is what I want to discuss today. That is one of the things I want to discuss today. Okay, so today we are going to talk about connectivity with respect to plane duality.
The dual, like it turned out to be connected, I guess.
Right, the dual will always be connected. And so if your original graph is disconnected, then the dual of the dual will not be isomorphic to the original graph.
Yes.
Right, exactly. So we will actually prove the connected part today. It's a very simple proof. Before we do that, I want you to observe something.
Sir, I have a question. So,
Yeah,
so basically, dual is connected for any graph G, whether it's connected or disconnected.
exactly. We will prove that in a few seconds. Okay.
Okay. So from that result follows. If G is disconnected, then dual of dual cannot be isomorphic to G.
Exactly.
So that will happen for any disconnected plane graph G.
Yes, for
Okay.
any plane graph.
And it is disconnected. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at our standard example. Right. Okay. So the black colored graph is the plane graph G, and the red color graph is its dual. Okay. And if you consider any face, if you consider any face in the original graph, okay, then the boundary of that face is exactly the edges incident at the corresponding vertex. Right? So the point I want to make is that the edges incident with a vertex F star are precisely those edges whose corresponding edges in the original graph G lie on the boundary of the corresponding face F. Okay, notice that the edges on the boundary of F are these 4 edges in this example, and corresponding to these 4 edges, you have the red 4 edges that are incident with the vertex F star, right? Okay, so in particular, if G has no cut edges, then the graph G star has no loops, and in this case the boundary of F star is exactly those dual edges whose corresponding edge, so this is the cut corresponding to vertex F star in the dual graph G star. Okay, and that is the reason we have chosen this notation for the boundary of the face, right? This is the boundary of F viewed as a set of edges. Okay, are there any questions or concerns regarding this simple observation?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you say that so can you just scroll down? Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you are saying that the corresponding edges, what do you mean by corresponding edges?
Well, it's fairly clear, right? If this is an edge in the original graph, for that edge, there is a corresponding edge E star in the dual,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So there is a correspondence between the edges of G and the edges of its dual G star. And that is what I am referring to. That is the correspondence I'm referring to.
Okay. So
Okay.
precisely those edges are incident to F star.
Exactly.
G star.
Right.
G star. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, good. So if not, let's move on to proving something interesting about the dual that we just discussed. So you take the dual of any plane graph and it will be a connected graph. Okay. So how do we prove this? Let me start with an example. Supposing this is my plane graph G. Okay. I want to argue that the dual is necessarily a connected graph. So G is our plane graph and G star is our dual of G. Okay. What does it mean to show that the graph is connected? It means that between any two vertices of G star, there is a path or a walk, because if there is a walk, then there is a path, right? Basic graph theory. So let's consider two vertices of G star. Vertices of G star are basically corresponding to faces of the original graph G, right? So let's say I take one face, F star, and I take another face, G star. Okay. So in the dual graph, these correspond to vertices. How do we argue that there is a walk between these two vertices in the dual graph?
Sir,
Yeah,
yeah. So what we're taking any two distinct vertices in G star.
right.
So basically they are correspond to, so let the vertices are F star and G star. So they correspond to the faces F and G in the origin graph G. Okay. So first of all, if G is connected, then you are done.
Why?
So this is because if G is connected, we have partitioned the plane. There is a partition of the plane into some regions called faces.
Hmm.
And
But
if
that is
we,
also true if G is disconnected. Where is the
yeah,
connected assumption coming into play so far?
no. What I'm trying to do,
Hmm.
I am trying to look what a path in G star signifies in G.
Hmm.
If I consider a path in G star, so that is a significance in G. So a path is a sequence of adjacent path or a walk. It doesn't matter. So it is a sequence of adjacent vertices. So adjacent vertices in G star corresponds to two faces in G sharing an edge.
Okay.
So
So basically, the connectivity of G is irrelevant. Whatever argument you come up with, the
yeah,
connectivity of
actually
G
it
is not
doesn't
going to be
depend on it.
completely irrelevant.
It doesn't depend whether G is connected or not. Yeah.
Shrikant, your mic's not working. Can you turn it on if it's working? Right. Okay, so Shrikant is saying take the line joining them and all the faces that the line segment intersect. Every point on the line lies on the face and okay, okay. Right. So I won't take the line joining them because the straight line joining them could intersect some vertices. Okay. But essentially what you have said is correct. The point is there is in the plane, if you look at the plane, right? So let me draw some box around here. Maybe I'll erase this. Okay. So we are looking at the plane. In the plane, there is definitely an arc joining this point to this point. An arc that does not meet any vertices, right? There is a finite number of vertices. So you can always avoid a finite number of vertices and go from one point to another point. That is a basic fact from topology, right? We won't prove it. We will use it without proof. Okay. So there is definitely some arc C.
Basically, it is a walk, so contains a path.
Exactly. Exactly. In the plane, there exists an arc C joining the point, well, joining some point in the face F to some point in the face G. Okay. So you look at this arc, it does not, and I want this arc such that the arc C does not pass through any vertex of the given graph, of the given plane graph G. This can be done because there is a finite number of vertices. So you can always avoid the vertices and go from some point in face F to some point in face G. Okay. And now if you think about what this arc means in the dual, what is it saying? It is saying that you can go from the face F to the face F1 by crossing one edge. Then you can go from F1 to another face F2 by crossing another edge. So in the dual graph, this gives you a walk from the vertex F star to the vertex G star. It will be a walk because you could come to the same face multiple times, and you can cross the same edge multiple times. Okay. In the dual G star, this arc C corresponds to a sequence of vertices. These are faces of G and edges. These are edges of G as well. Okay. So it corresponds to a sequence of vertices and edges that starts at F star and ends at G star. This implies there exists a walk in the dual graph between the vertices F star and G star. And this implies that there exists a path, there exists an F star G star path. Right? But what are F star and G star? F star and G star are just two vertices in the dual. So any two vertices, there is a path between them, and that proves that the dual is a connected graph. Okay. So the point of the proof is that the plane is a topologically connected surface. And that is why when you take the dual of a plane graph, you will always get something that is connected. The essence, if I may, is that the plane is connected in a topological sense. And therefore the plane graph will be a connected graph. Okay, so it does not matter whether your original graph is connected or not. It has no relevance. Does everybody follow this proof?
So basically, sir, we consider every time the arc C intersects an edge of G, intersects means crosses an edge of G.
Yeah.
That means for that particular crossing, there is a corresponding edge in G star in the walk from F star to G star.
Right, exactly. Because this is just a sequence of faces and edges.
Yeah.
And in the G star, that will just become a sequence of vertices and edges.
Okay.
Right?
So there will be path from F star to G star. Okay.
There'll be a walk, and therefore there'll be a path.
Yeah.
Right? Good. All right. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Sir,
Yeah.
if we take a path such that it intersects the minimum number of edges, can we call it a path?
Minimum number of edges. I think what you mean is to minimize the number of crossings.
Yes.
If you minimize the number of crossings, that will actually be a path itself. And in this walk, for example, you take F star to be here. Because, right, all of these points are F star. Right? So now you have a path between F star and G star.
Sir, I think more precisely, if we take an arc C from F star to G star with minimum number of crossings, then that will give us the shortest path from F star to G star in G star.
Yeah, if you take a minimum number of crossings, that you'll get a shortest path.
Yeah.
But if you take minimal crossings, then you will get a path. Right? So within your path, you choose a minimal subpath with respect to the number of crossings.
But what do you mean by minimal number of crossings?
Right. So no subpath should start from F star and end at G star. and be a proper subpath.
Okay.
So no proper subpath should start at F star and end at G star.
Okay, so basically whenever we are starting from F star and once for the first time when we reach G star, we will stop.
Right, and then you can backtrace and get back to F star.
F star, okay. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but if that arc C has minimum number of crossings, then definitely we can say that that will be shortest path in G star.
Among all such arcs, if it is a minimum number of crossings, then yes.
Shortest path, yeah.
Yeah.
And conversely, also any shortest path in G star corresponds to an arc there with minimum number of crossings in G.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. All right. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, so if not, so I want to relate plane duality with edge contraction and deletion. Okay, and you will see why we are doing that. We will relate that to non-separability of graphs. Okay, so right now we just talked about when is the dual connected, and the proposition is saying that the dual is always connected, right? So this was about connectivity. I want to switch to non-separability, but before that, let us relate plane duality with edge contraction and deletion. Okay. There is a very beautiful connection between contracting edges and deleting edges that comes out when you consider plane duality. Okay. So consider the following scenario. We have an edge. Let us say that this edge is not a cut edge. Okay. So let's say G is a plane graph and E is not a cut edge. Okay. What does that mean? That means that on the two sides of E, you will see two different faces, right? So let's make one example that looks like this. So these are two faces, F1 and F2. Okay. There will be some vertices here, for instance. All right. So I want to think about what does the graph G minus E look like and how can we relate it to the dual of this graph? Okay. So first let's draw the dual. This is just an example and you can convert whatever we are going to prove into a formal proof, but I want to focus on the intuition here. Okay. So what does the dual look like? The dual looks like this locally. I'm just drawing the dual for this part of the graph. Yeah.
The dual will have one vertex less because if we remove the AG, then the two faces will merge into a single face.
That's right. That's right. So let's observe that, right? So this is what the dual looks like for this part of the graph. I mean, this could be a very big graph, plane graph. I'm just looking at this local structure here, one edge and the two faces around it. Okay. And the dual has been drawn in red. Okay. And now let's delete this edge and redraw the graph. So this is the edge E star, by the way, in the dual. And this is the vertex F1 star. And this is the vertex F2 star. Okay. Now let's draw G minus E. And let me call these vertices U and V so that we can see what's going on. So the vertex U is here, the vertex V is here, and the rest of the graph mostly looks the same. My curves will not look the same, but that's not the point here. Okay. So I think I put 4 vertices on both sides, but it doesn't have to be 4.
Sir, I think dual of G minus E will be G star contract E star, right?
Let's first draw it. Okay. So Let's look at this is the graph G minus E. Okay. And what does the dual of this look like? Right. And now what Aranya is saying is going to become clear. There'll be a single vertex here corresponding to this face. Let's call this vertex F. And let's call this big face the F. Okay. And you will have edges corresponding to each edge on the boundary of the face F, right?
Sir, I think the vertex will be F star, right?
The vertex is F star, thanks.
F star, F star. Yeah.
Okay, good. So now if you try to think about how could you get this dual in the red drawing on the right hand side, how can you get it from the red drawing on the left hand side, right? And you observe that it's basically contracting this edge. If you contract E star in the dual G star, then you will get the dual that I have drawn on the right hand side. Okay, so the dual on the right hand side is G minus E star, and that is basically isomorphic, if I may write like this, to the original dual, and then contracting the edge corresponding to E star. Okay, and you can turn this into a formal proof. Look at the two edges on the sides of E, F1 and F2, and then consider what happens when you delete this edge. When you delete this edge, F1 and F2 will merge into a single face F. And now you compare this with the duals. It's just a matter of writing down some simple observations, which I'm not going to bother doing. You can do it yourself. The proposition is this is proposition 10.12. You take a plane graph, you take an edge that is not a cut edge, then deleting the edge and then taking the dual is the same as taking the dual and contracting the corresponding edge E star. Okay. So use the intuition that we discussed to write down a proof on your own. Okay. And it's in the text in case you want to refer to something. Okay. But I think the intuition that you get by looking at this drawing is far more valuable in this particular case. Okay. So deleting an edge and taking the dual is the same as taking the dual and then contracting the corresponding edge. So now let's ask the other question. What about contracting the edge and then taking the dual? What does that correspond to? Okay. So let's make a different drawing here. Supposing we have a graph G and we look at an edge, and in this case we are going to assume that the edge is not a loop. Okay, so it has two distinct ends U and V, because if it's a loop then contracting it is the same as just deleting it, right? So let's say G is a plane graph.
I think it will similarly correspond to edge deletion.
Exactly. So that's, yeah, basically the two things interchange. So E is some edge that is not a loop. Okay, and let's consider contracting this edge. So when you contract the edge, and maybe first I'll draw the dual here, as we did before. So we have one vertex here, we have another vertex here. They are like this. And then we have a bunch of edges like this. This is the edge E star. Okay. And now let's consider contracting the edge E. So when you contract the edge, you get a planar embedding of G contract E very naturally by just squeezing it in the plane into a single point, right? And the drawing changes like this. So this is the contraction vertex. And this is the graph G contract E. Okay. And now let's take the dual here. You'll have a vertex here that will go like this. You'll have a vertex here that will go like this. Right? So this is our graph G contract E and then take the dual. Right? And if you relate these two graphs now, how do you get the red graph on the right side from the red graph on the left side? Anyone?
Basically, G star minus E star.
Exactly. You take the original dual and just delete the corresponding edge. Right? So this just is the original dual minus the corresponding edge. Okay. So that's our next proposition. Take a plane graph, take an edge that is not a loop, and now observe that contracting the edge and then taking the dual is isomorphic to taking the dual and then deleting the corresponding edge. Okay. And you can write it down formally using the intuition we discussed. Okay. Is everybody convinced of these statements? Is it intuitively clear why it's true? Okay, good. Maybe there is something I want to say here. In these cases, we are really considering all of this as plane graphs. Okay? Because when you delete the edge and then you take the dual, right? I want you to do that in the plane graph itself. Okay, because you can delete the edge and can get a different embedding, and then this proof does not work anymore. So everything here is a plane graph. All operations on plane graphs. Okay, there is some subtle points because otherwise you can change the embedding and then the proof that we discussed does not work. The embedding is very important here. So you are not dealing with abstract graphs here. You are dealing with plane graphs.
Sir, this is because dual is a property of the planar embedding, not the abstract graph.
That's right, exactly.
Because
we cannot talk about duals of abstract graphs.
Yeah, because the abstract graph may have several different planar embeddings for which there may different dual.
Exactly, exactly. Right?
Different planar embeddings of abstract graph may have different duals.
Yeah, I think what I mean is this part here, I want you to think about it as restricted to plane graphs. Right? You take the embedding which is given to you, you delete an edge and you take the dual of the plane graph that you obtain by just removing that edge from the drawing. Okay, on the right hand side it does not matter because you are taking the dual of the plane graph, and then deleting an edge from the abstract graph is the same as deleting an edge from the corresponding planar embedding. Okay, and the same thing in the previous proposition. In this part, this is about plane graphs.
So basically, sir, if we take a different planar embedding of G minus C than the one obtained in this proposition, then this result may not be true. Because the dual will change.
Right, the dual can change, exactly.
Dual can
Exactly.
change, then this isomorphic result cannot hold true.
Right,
Cannot be
exactly.
true.
Exactly. So it will be true for that particular embedding. And if you get the dual for that particular embedding, right? So you cannot change the embedding in between,
In between, okay.
right?
Sir,
Yeah.
have you defined for me when two planar embeddings are actually different?
No, I have not defined that yet.
Okay.
I want to get to that, but maybe it won't happen today. It will happen in the next lecture tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
So similarly for G contractile also we have to fix the embedding and then
Yes.
work.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Good. All right. So that's that. But using these two facts, we can prove something cool. And in this proof, there'll be a few things which will be do it yourself. And I will put them on Piazza with the full statements. But what we can prove is that the dual of a non-separable plane graph is another non-separable plane graph. Is again non-separable. It will be an abstract graph, but in particular, the non-separability is going to be preserved. Okay. So we will prove this using the above two propositions and by induction. Okay, we'll do induction on the number of edges. So let's consider our plane graph G that is non-separable. So let's consider the graphs that have at most one edge. Okay, so let's look at our base case on the right side. Supposing your graph has at most one edge, what are the possibilities? Can somebody tell me?
So either it is the empty graph.
It's a non-separable graph, so it won't be empty. We won't consider the empty graph to be non-separable.
Okay,
We will
so
have at least one vertex.
Yeah, so either it will be K1, sorry,
Yeah.
either it will be K2 or K1 with a loop.
Or just K1. By empty, oh, I see. By empty, you meant K1, right?
Yeah, by empty I mean K1. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So then we are going to consider that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking
Actually-
about null graph.
Actually, okay, no, not null graph. By empty I mean only K1.
Okay, good. So these are the three possibilities. Okay. What are the duals of these? Can somebody tell me quickly?
Yeah.
Okay. Dual of K1?
K1.
K1. Dual of this guy?
K2.
K2. Exactly. And dual of K2?
K1.
K1.
K1 or K1 with a loop?
This K1 with a loop.
Yes.
Okay.
With a loop, yeah.
Okay. I hope everybody can see that. Are there any questions or concerns why this is the case?
Because in K2 that particular edge is a cut edge.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
why that the edge corresponding to that edge in dual must be a loop.
Yeah, or you just draw it, right? I mean, if you just
Yeah,
draw
I mean, you can
things,
just draw. Yeah.
right? So you put one vertex here, you put one vertex here, and you join them. So you get the dual K2. And here you put just one vertex because there's only one face, and you cross this edge and you come back, so you get a loop. Okay. So in the case your graph has at most one edge, then the statement is clear, right? You see the duals, they are all again non-separable. Okay. So now let's suppose the number of edges is at least 2. In particular, this means that the graph G has no loops and no cut edges. This is easy to prove. If you have a non-separable graph with at least 2 edges, then there can't be any loops and there can't be any cut edges. Okay, so that is one small do-it-yourself problem.
So this is because a loop cannot participate in a cycle with any other edge.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. All right, so that's done. So now there is another small do-it-yourself problem. There exists an edge E in the graph G such that at least one of G minus E and G contract E is non-separable. Okay, this you can prove using ear decompositions. Can be done using ear decompositions. If you have another proof, please let me know. I am too used to thinking about ear decompositions, so I sometimes miss out easier proofs. Okay, there is some edge in the graph so that you can preserve non-separability by either deleting that edge or contracting that edge. So we'll look at two cases. Case 1, let us say G delete E is non-separable. Okay, and case 2 is G contract E is non-separable.
Sir, I think this do-it-yourself remembers me of the three-connected thing, because for a three-connected graph we have
yeah.
we have either there exists an edge which is either deletable or contractible.
That's right. It's similar to three connected graphs results like Thomason's and Tutt's theorems.
Yeah, Karsten-Thomason theorem.
Yeah. Okay. So there are two cases. Either you delete the edge and you get a non-separable graph that is smaller, fewer edges, or you contract it. In both cases, we can apply the induction hypothesis, right? So by the induction hypothesis in this case, G delete E is non-separable. You are deleting one edge, so you will also get a planar graph. That is clear. You will in fact get a plane graph by deleting the edge in the planar embedding. Okay, so G delete E is a non-separable plane graph. Sorry, what I mean is, since this is a non-separable plane graph, by the induction hypothesis, its dual is also non-separable. But I wanted to say something about the original graph, right? And what did we just prove? Deleting an edge and taking the dual is the same as taking the dual and then contracting the corresponding edge, right? So
basically G star contract E star will be non-separable.
Yes, by proposition 10.12, G star contract E star is non-separable. Okay, and now you use the fact that the edge E is not a loop or a cut edge. So in the dual, it can also not be a loop or a cut edge, right? And using this fact, you prove that the original graph, the dual itself must be non-separable. So there is another do-it-yourself problem here. G star.
Basically, we can expand the contraction vertex in G star contract E star.
Exactly.
Get G star.
So
and vertex expansion preserves planarity.
Exactly, right?
Vertex planarity, yeah.
So you prove that G star is also non-separable, and you use the fact that E star is neither a loop nor a cut edge in the dual graph, because the corresponding edge E was not a loop or a cut edge in the original graph G. Okay, so you use this fact and you prove that the abstract dual G star is non-separable. Okay, so there are some small do-it-yourself exercises here, but those are not too difficult. Okay, and we do something similar here. Again, by a similar argument, this is a non-separable plane graph, G contract E. So by the induction hypothesis, you can take the dual, and this will also be non-separable. Right? But this we know by the earlier proposition 10.13, contracting an edge and taking the dual is the same as taking the dual and deleting the corresponding edge. Right? So this graph is also non-separable. So what are you doing? You are just deleting one edge, and that edge is not a loop. So you put that edge back, and you cannot lose non-separability by adding an edge that is not a loop. Right? So do it yourself. G star is also non-separable. And you use the fact that E star is not a loop in G star. Okay?
Sir, in all these do-it-yourself problems, can we assume that non-separability and two connected, they're equivalent concept?
Because
then I think it will be easier to show that if G star minus G star is non-separable, then G star will also be non-separable.
Yeah, it doesn't make it much different. I mean, so when you know that the graph is also two connected, you can use that fact. So whatever you know about equivalence of non-separability and two connectedness, I mean, they are not exactly the same, but they are very similar. So yeah, you just say that, okay, in this case, it is two connected, and then you use facts about two connected graphs, right? But you just have to check. For example, in non-separable graphs, you can't have loops except for a single vertex with a loop. But in a two connected graph, you can have loops.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be careful about those subtleties.
Yeah.
But there is no crime in thinking about them as a similar classes of graphs.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So that is the end of the proof. There are a few do-it-yourself things here, but they are not too difficult, and I will put them on Piazza more formally. Okay. Good. So what have we done so far? We have discussed that the dual of any plane graph is connected, right? That is where we started today. Then we proved using the edge contraction deletion sort of interchangeability, if I may, that the dual of a non-separable plane graph is also non-separable, right? There is another really cool fact that we won't be proving, but if you're interested, you're welcome to try it on your own, which is the following. I'm just going to state it as a fact because we are not going to prove it in this course. This is exercise 10.2.9 in Bondi-Murthy. It says that the dual of a simple three-connected graph is another simple and three-connected graph. Okay, so non-separability, as Aranya just mentioned, is like two connected, right? So we started with connected, then we looked at two connected, and here is a cool fact about simple three-connected graphs. Okay, but we won't prove this in this course.
But sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
So in this fact, we have to assume that the three-connected graph is planar, because otherwise dual.
Oh, sorry. Simple three-connected
planar graph.
Yeah, plane graph.
Also,
Yeah.
and also plane graph, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you are saying planar, then the embedding is not fixed. But when you are
That's
saying
right.
plane, the embedding is fixed. So the dual is
That's
well
right.
defined.
That's right. That's right.
Dual is well defined. Okay. Okay.
That's right. Okay. I mean, since you mentioned this, I will mention another related point that actually in the case of simple three connected plane graphs, the embedding is unique in some sense. I will define what I mean by unique embedding in the next lecture. We will start from there perhaps. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So basically, what you can say for if G is a simple three-connected plane graph, then suppose if G is any simple three-connected planar graph, then G may have many different embeddings, but the duals corresponding to each of the embeddings will always be isomorphic to each other.
That's right. They will be isomorphic. That's right. That is one of the consequences of the embedding being unique.
Embedding being unique. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can
Yeah.
say that
But
if one
anyways, yeah,
embedding
we'll
is
talk. Yeah.
so
Go ahead.
if for one embedding we can get a simple and three-connected dual, then for other embeddings also we will get a simple and three-connected duals.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Are there any other questions or concerns? So tomorrow we will discuss about what it means for an embedding to be unique. I think we will discuss that tomorrow. And then we will move on to relating vector spaces, the cut space and the bond space and the cycle space to duality. So that's the main agenda for tomorrow. Vector spaces versus duality, plane duality. Right, so what I mean here is cycle space and bond space. All right, so the lecture is officially over, but if there are any questions or concerns, please stay back and I'm here.
So sir, for a simple and three-connected graph G, so you say that the embedding is unique in some sense. So will you prove it? Will you prove it in this course? Will you see the proof in this course?
I think we will see the proof in this course. Yes, not tomorrow, but next week. Yes.
What next week? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But sir, this fact, will you prove it? Which you just stated.
Which fact? The one I just stated at the end?
Yeah. Dual of a simple.
No, I don't think we will prove it, but you are welcome to try proving it to yourself. And if I can make a do it yourself or try it yourself problem by making more steps, I will include that. But it's not required for the course.
Okay. Okay.
It's just too many things to prove about planarity. So I'm going to skip a few things.
Okay. 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 Fine.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll stop recording now, but I'm still here for another 5 minutes in case you want to ask any questions.